During a research proposal presentation or seminar, questions can range from the theoretical foundation to methodological specifics. Here are some common questions you may encounter and tips for answering them effectively. Sure. 1. What motivated you to choose this research topic? Tip. Share a brief backstory or personal interest if relevant, and explain the gap or problem you identified in existing research. Emphasize the significance of your research area. Modder 2. What is your research question or hypothesis? Tip. Clearly state your research question or hypothesis concisely. If necessary, rephrase it in simpler terms for clarity. Connect it to the broader objectives and why answering this question is important. Three. How does your research contribute to the existing literature? Tip. Identify the specific ways your study fills a gap, addresses a limitation, or explores a new angle. Highlight any practical applications or potential impact on future research. 4. What theoretical framework are you using and why? Tip. Briefly describe the theory or theories guiding your study and explain why they're relevant. Relate the framework to your research question and methodology to show coherence. 5. Can you explain your methodology? Why did you choose this method? Tip. Outline your methods simply but comprehensively, mentioning your study design, data collection, and analysis techniques. Explain why this method is best suited for your objectives and any alternatives you considered. 6. How will you address potential limitations in your study? Tip. Acknowledge the limitations openly. Explain how you plan to mitigate these issues, such as through a careful study design or transparent reporting. This shows preparedness and honesty. 7. What are your key variables and how will you measure them? Tip. Define your independent, dependent, and control variables if applicable. Describe how each will be measured, specifying the tools or techniques, and justify their reliability and validity. 8. How do you plan to analyze the data? Tip. Briefly outline the statistical or qualitative methods you'll use. Explain why these methods are suitable for your data type and research question. Avoid excessive technical details unless requested. 9. What challenges do you anticipate and how will you handle them? Tip. Be honest about foreseeable challenges, e.g., recruitment, data collection. Explain any contingency plans, showing that you've thought through the process and prepared accordingly. 10. What ethical considerations are involved in your study? Tip. Discuss how you'll protect participant rights, maintain confidentiality, and obtain informed consent. Address any ethical review processes you'll follow. 11. What is your timeline for completing the research? Tip. Provide a realistic timeline, breaking down the phases, e.g., literature review, data collection, analysis. Highlight any milestones to assure them of your planning skills. 12. What are the possible implications of your findings? Tip. Speculate on the potential impact on the field, practice, or policy. Share how your findings might influence future research or solve practical issues. 13. How do you intend to share or disseminate your findings? Tip. Mention plans for publication, conference presentations, or community outreach if applicable. This shows your commitment to contributing to the field. 14. Do you anticipate any biases in your research? Tip. Acknowledge any potential biases and explain your strategies for minimizing them, such as blinding or using diverse samples. What are the strengths and weaknesses of your study? Tip. Confidently discuss your study's strengths, like robustness or relevance. Address weaknesses objectively, framing them as areas for careful management. Final tips for answering questions. Stay concise and focused. Avoid rambling. Address only what the question specifically asks. Clarify jargon. If technical terms are necessary, explain them briefly. Practice active listening. Make sure you fully understand the question before answering. Use evidence. Where possible, refer to past studies, preliminary data, or logic to back up your responses. Stay calm and confident. Even difficult questions can be addressed effectively with a clear, organized response. Being prepared for these questions will help you convey confidence and a strong understanding of your research, making for a successful presentation or seminar.